Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Alright, so I have a question for you. Who do you think is the most successful sniper in history? An American sniper? I mean, they made a movie about it. A Swiss sniper? Perhaps when you think of a sniper, you think of a male. I mean, it makes sense. Again, they made a movie about it. But what if I told you that the most successful sniper in history was a Ukrainian, Russian woman that created such hell for the Nazis during World War II that her enemies called her Lady Death? Ooh, it gives me goosebumps. Lyudmila Pavlichenko would be that answer. Quick disclaimer, I am not Russian or Ukrainian, so I am 90% sure I'm going to butcher every single one of these names because we're going to be in Russia, Ukraine, and Germany in a few of these stories. I'm going to use the help of robots because I cannot pronounce things, like at all. Sometimes I can't even pronounce my own name. Oh man. With that out of the way, let's get into this insane story. Mikhailovonia.
Pronouncenames.com.
Mikhailovich.
Lyudmila Mikhailovich, Bolivia. Lyudmila Mikhailovich Bolivia was born July 12th, 1916 in... I'm not gonna even try this.
Bila Cerkva.
This is gonna be hard. In the Russian Empire of the then Soviet Union, which is now Kiev Oblast, Ukraine. Her father was
Mikhail Belov,
who worked as a locksmith from St. Petersburg, Russia, formerly known as Petrograd. And her mother was Elena. Lyudmila was a self-described tomboy, and she was fiercely active in athletic competitions. When she was 14, her family moved to Kiev, where she joined a shooting club called
Azoviakhim,
which translates to the Volunteer Society for Cooperation with the Army, Aviation, and Navy, and developed into quite the amateur sharpshooter who is somebody skilled in precise aiming from a long distance. And she earned a badge called
Voroshilov,
sharpshooter, as well as a marksman certificate. Again, I told you, these names are going to be hard for me, so I'm using the robots. In 1932, at age 15, she met a boy named Alexei Poltvanko. I know I mispronounced that wrong, all right? Don't come after me. And found herself pregnant. A situation she described as, quote, the end of the world, a voluntary blindness and loss of reason. Such was my first schoolgirl love. Dang, that's harsh. Later that year, she married Alexei and gave birth to their only son,
Rostislav.
I couldn't find an exact year, but their marriage did end in divorce, so Lyudmila and her son moved in with her parents. Oh my God, I'm a mess. During this time, she attended night school and helped with household chores, and when she wasn't at school or doing chores, she worked as a grinder at a Kiev arsenal factory. She graduated school and attended Kiev University in 1937 at the age of 21, where she studied history. Again, I love her. We love her already. And wanted to be a scholar and a teacher once she graduated. While attending college, she was still very active in athletics and competed on the track team as a sprinter and pole vaulter, and kept her marksmanship in tip-top shape by taking classes at a sniper school, which is apparently a thing. Now, supposedly what made her interested in shooting in the first place was hearing a boy bragging about his shooting achievements, saying, quote, that was enough to send me running to the range, end quote. Freaking show you, boy. And you'll understand that she is far from somebody to just lay down and roll over. She always says bet. Okay. It is June 1941. Lyudmila is 25 and in her last year of university, living her best life with her amazing son. All that would change like this. It was that same month Hitler launched his surprise and largest military ground invasion in history he called Operation Barbarossa, where he had some 3.8 million troops, thousands of tanks, aircrafts, and more than 500,000 horses invade the USSR on June 22nd, 1941. A little bit of a warning, my World War II history geek self is going to come out for a moment. Okay, so just hold on. If you look at a map of Ukraine, here is where Kiev University and Lyudmila is, and here is the map of Operation Barbarossa. One thing to note, when this invasion began, it moved fast. And this fast-moving invasion truly caught Russia, the Red Army, and Joseph Stalin completely off guard. And all of this was taken over in barely a week. All of this was taken over in barely a week. It's insane. I'm a history geek. I mean, I made a whole freaking channel out of my history geek bird self. Anyway, back to Lyudmila. Lyudmila was one of the first round of volunteers after the invasion. She went to a recruiting office in Odessa where she requested to join the infantry. Because again, she can, yeah. Needless to say, the man doing the signing was like, sure, yeah, shooting is a man's job. Why don't you become a nurse or work in a factory? As you can guess, Lyudmila didn't like this, as I'm sure any of us stubborn women would. Having come with the box, she just kind of went like this. And outpoured every high level of civilian sharpshooter awards in the USSR and had records of years of shooting practice as a hobby. The recruiter, rightfully so, backed down and signed her up to show what she could do. I, for one, think that he was just humoring her, but the humor went away pretty quickly after showing off her hobby skills in multiple training courses. She was assigned to the Red Army's 25th Rifle Division, where she was one of 2,000 female snipers, of which only 500 survived the war. Due to a weapon shortage, she was only issued fragmentation grenades while in her combat role. For those of us who don't know, fragmentation grenades are like any other common grenade, but these are designed to break into small, fast-moving, lethal fragments once the core explodes. Think of like shrapnel. She remarked this time saying, quote, "It was very frustrating to have to observe the course of the battle with just a single grenade in one's hand." I mean, shoot, you're in World War II on the battlefield and you're given a single grenade. You're in World War II and you have one weapon. Oh God. On August 8th, 1941, during a battle, a fallen comrade handed Lyudmila his Mosin Nagant model 1991 bolt-action shot rifle. My God, this is hard. With this rifle, she shot her first two enemies, who were Romanian soldiers digging themselves in just a few hundred yards away. She was given the clear, steadied herself, and took the shots. Those two shots proved herself to her comrades that she's not just some girl who's good with a gun. She described this event as her baptism of fire. This lady's a badass. Following this, she officially became a sniper. Oh, forgot. Those first two shots, she didn't count as her first two shots in the war. She called those merely trial shots. I don't count those. They were just trial shots. In the next few months, she perfected her art by leaving camp in the early hours of the morning and returning at night, which apparently you could do. She would head to positions close to the enemy lines and just sat there motionless, waiting for an opportunity to shoot. Oh my God. Saying, quote, "You need great self-control, willpower, and endurance to lie 15 hours at a stretch without moving. The slightest twitch may mean death," end quote. Damn. She felt no remorse for her kills, saying, quote, "The only feeling I have is the great satisfaction a hunter feels who has killed a beast of prey." Oh. Ugh. I don't want to make her mad. I wouldn't want to, no. During the siege of Odessa, or the defense of Odessa, that lasted from August 8th to October 16th, 1941, during the early phase of Operation Barbarossa, Lyudmila was right there on the front lines. Again, this chick's a badass. Sorry, she's so cool. Fighting for about 2.5 months, she was credited with 187 kills. During the month of August, she was promoted to senior sergeant when she added 100 more kills to her tally. Yeah, she kept the tally. Yeah. Now, at this point in time, I must say, Lyudmila is not completely made of steel. At age 25, she met and married fellow sniper Alexei
Kitsenko.
Because why not meet your fellow husband on a sniper range in World War II? Sharing a trench. Yeah, a trench. I can't keep it together. The newlyweds spent their honeymoon hunting Nazis. Lyudmila recalls this time, quote, "The honeymoon had a positive effect on my shooting," end quote. Okay. Back to being serious. On October 15th, 1941, the Nazis and their Romanian allies took Odessa. Lyudmila's unit was ordered to withdraw from Odessa by sea to Internet teach me things. Sevastopol. By sea to Sevastopol. That did not sound right. Lyudmila's unit was ordered to withdraw from Odessa by sea to Sevastopol on the Crimean Peninsula to fight the siege of Sevastopol that took place from October 30th, 1941 to July 4th, 1942. While there, Lyudmila trained other snipers who killed over 100 Axis soldiers during this battle. In the meantime, she was promoted another time, this time to lieutenant, when her kill tally, we'll just call it that, her kill tally reached close to 200. Unfortunately, in March 1942, Alexei was fatally wounded by a mortar shell and died in her arms of his injuries several days later in the hospital. Now this war is personal. Hell hath no fury like a woman who lost her husband in her arms during World War II and has a rifle and who's just pissed. And not only does it get crazier from this point on, it is the aftermath of losing her love of her life that the Lady of Death fully appears. In May of 1942, she was cited by the Southern Army Council for killing 257 Axis soldiers. Okay. This is how much the Germans were scared of her. The Germans were so scared of her that they tried to bribe her. Hang on. She recalled hearing over the loudspeaker, quote, "Lyudmila Pavlichenko, come over to us. We will give you lots of chocolate and make you a German officer," end quote. Because all women can be bribed with chocolate. Oh, but they kept going. When the charm, because what woman doesn't want chocolates, didn't work, they moved to threats. On her last day on the front lines, they shouted, quote, "If we catch you, we will tear you into 309 pieces and scatter them to the winds," end quote. She didn't say anything back, but she was pleased to know that even her enemies had her tally correct. Yep, you heard that right. She had 309 kills at that point. Lyudmila, I'm sure as you can guess, refused to lose. Is that a surprise? One example was when she practically played a game of cat and mouse with one German soldier that lasted 3 days, of which she held her position for 15 to 20 hours a day. She described this standoff as, quote, "one of the tensest experiences of my life," end quote. Well, no shit. In the end, though, the German sniper, quote, made one move too many and became kill number 36. Her tally would have kept growing, I'm 110% sure about that, but in June of 1942, she was hit in the face by a shrapnel from a mortar shell and was evacuated by submarine, that's awesome, from Sevastopol to Moscow, spending a month in the hospital. Which, really quickly, I'm surprised she only stayed a month in a hospital after getting shot in the face. Once she was recovered, she wanted to go back to battle, keep her tally going, but the Soviet High Command withdrew her from battle, seeing her as too valuable an asset. I'm having fun with this chick. By the time of her withdrawal, she had a total of 309 kills, including 39 Axis sniper kills, making her the most successful female sniper in recorded history, or herstory, I should say. Yeah! She became a propagandist for the Red Army, who nicknamed her Lady Death. Boy, did she deserve that. In 1943, she was awarded the Gold Star of the Hero of the Soviet Union, as well as the Order of Lenin twice. The Order of Lenin is the highest civilian decoration awarded in the Soviet Union. I'm slouching. Okay. Readjust, get a snack. I ain't done yet, because Lyudmila ain't done yet. She has a whole new role to continue breaking glass ceilings. Stay with me, get your snack, we're still going. Am I gonna burp? Okay. Her new role as a propagandist was to get support for a second front in Europe to aid Russia in the fight against Germany. Because, truth be told, World War geek coming up here, Germany was kicking their butt. Not being able to speak a word of English, she was sent for a publicity visit to Canada and the United States. When she visited the United States, she was the first Soviet citizen to be received by a U.S. president. She was invited to the White House by 32nd President Franklin D. Roosevelt and his wife and First Lady, Eleanor Roosevelt. This lady's awesome. Again, she's the first one. She's the first. Don't know how I don't know her until now. I'm 24. I'm just learning about this badass woman. That's why I have this channel, because we all need to know about women like this. By the time she was sent to the US, she was already a little celebrity, and judging by Eleanor's face, she is either giddy to meet her or scared as hell. After the White House visit, Eleanor invited her to tour the US and share her experiences as a female soldier on the front lines. Again, I wish I had known about this woman. During her visits, she and Eleanor became fast friends. I love it. Again, she had a best friend, and her best friend was the First Lady of the United States, because why the hell not? At first, she was not taken seriously by the press. I'm gonna go ahead and put a trigger warning here: misogyny. Lyudmila was dumbfounded by the fact that the press was more interested with what she wore than with her, battlefield achievements. The New York Times dubbed her the girl sniper, while others focused on her uniform. This uniform. Get ready to be mad. Just get ready to be mad. One reporter told her that in America, women wear short skirts and that her long skirt gave her a lack of style and made her look fat. I'm not done. Another reporter asked her if women were allowed to wear makeup on the front lines. Lyudmila said there were no rules against it, but questioned, quote, "Who had the time to think of her shiny nose when there is a battle going on?" End quote. I would have said something a little bit less graceful than that, but oh, America, 1940 40s and misogyny. Yes, we love it all. Soon, as I'm sure we all would, she became frustrated and said to reporters, quote, "I wish you could experience a bombing raid. You would immediately forget about the cut of your outfit." Confused by these American priorities, she said in an interview for Time magazine, quote, "I am amazed at the kind of questions put to me by the women press correspondents in Washington. I wear my uniform with honor. It has the Order of Lenin on it. It has been covered with blood in battle. It is plain to see that with American women, what is important is whether they wear silk underwear under their uniforms." What the uniform stands for, they have yet to learn, end quote. Yep. Again, she took it very, very well. But reporters said that she was very blunt and unemotional in her answers. She's not really a woman because her skirt is long and makes her look fat. What the hell? Ignorance. It's amazing. In Washington, D.C., she appeared before the International Student Assembly and attended the meeting of the Congress of Industrial Organizations, which was a federation that organized unions for industrial workers, and made speeches in New York City and Chicago. In New York City, she was given a raccoon fur coat by Mayor Fiorello H. Let me just, internet teach me pronunciations.
Pronouncenames.com. Fiorello LaGuardia.
Fiorello LaGuardia. Yeah, I had it. Okay. By Mayor Fiorello H. LaGuardia. It was in Chicago, speaking to a spellbound audience with her stories of youth, the devastating effect on her homeland, and of course, her astounding combat career. In doing so, never failed to drive home the point that women were not only capable of fighting, but are essential. If I had a mic, I would drop it. I'll drop the mic. During the speech and awning questions, she had enough of the sexist comments. She snipes back, pun completely intended, "Gentlemen, I am 25 years old and I have killed 309 fascist occupants by now. Don't you think, gentlemen, that you have been hiding behind my back for too long?" End quote. Little reminder, by the time of her DC visit, she was wounded 4 times and by Soviet count was suffering from severe post-traumatic stress disorder, killed 309 people, and had the love of her life die in her arms. I might be running a red light here, but I'm pretty sure that living up to men and their standards of femininity was the last thing on her mind. I'm just saying. After a stunned silence, the crowd burst into an eruption of support, as they freaking should. She spoke at factories, attended dinners and galas, even led a sharpshooting demonstration, raised money for the Red Army, and even met Charlie Chaplin. When she left, the United States government gifted her a Colt semi-automatic pistol. Hell yeah. In Toronto, Ontario, she was given a Winchester Model 70 rifle equipped with a Weaver, however you pronounce that right, telescope sight. They could have given her flowers, some shoes, lipstick. They gave her a gun. And she loved it. I mean, as you can see, she loved getting the guns as a gift. While in Canada, she was with fellow sniper Vladimir, not gonna try,
Nikolaevich.
and Moscow Fuel Commissioner Nikolai, that last name,
Kravchenko.
They were greeted by thousands of people at the Toronto Union Station. She made a few stops in England, continuing to raise funds for the Red Army. I have to tell you guys this. In 1946, American folk singer Woody Guthrie wrote a song as a tribute to her visit to the U.S. and Canada titled Miss Pavlichenko.
300 Nazis fell by your gun, fell by your gun, oh, fell by your gun. More than 300 Nazis fell by your gun.
She returned to Moscow after 4 months of touring and raising funds. She was promoted to Major. Though she didn't get the funds needed for the Red Army, she returned home a hero. And though she could no longer fight, she continued to train snipers for frontline combat till the end of the war in 1945. Still going, I know, stay with me. When World War II was over, she returned to Kiev University, finished her education, and became a historian just as she planned. About 4 or 5 years later, but hey, she finished it. She worked as a research assistant at Soviet Navy headquarters from 1945 to 1953. Later, she became active in the Soviet Union of Veterans of War. In 1954, Eleanor Roosevelt was adamant that during her visit to Moscow that she would not leave without a visit to her old friend Lyudmila. Her request was eventually granted, and she visited Lyudmila in her small apartment in Moscow. Like, how freaking cool is that? Throughout the rest of her life, she struggled with depression due to the loss of her husband in the war, as well as PTSD and alcoholism. With all of these factors, this could have been a contributing factor to her early death of a stroke on October 10th, 1974, at the young age of 58. She was buried in... not gonna try.
WWII.
Cemetery in Moscow. When her son died, he was buried next to her. In 1976, a second Soviet commemorative stamp, yes, she's had a stamp twice, featuring her was issued. The first stamp was in 1943 following her withdrawal from battle. Again, who gets a stamp twice? In 2015, she was the subject of the film Battle for Sevastopol, a joint Ukrainian-Russian production. It was released in both Russia and Ukraine on April 2nd, 2015. The film's international premiere was 2 weeks later at the Beijing International Film Festival. Unfortunately, as movie does, the movie was a heavily romanticized version of her life and has several fabricated characters and events. I don't know how you can fabricate anything in her life, though. Her story was featured on the 4th season of Drunk History, and a character in Call of Duty Vanguard was inspired by her. Couldn't get any more American than that. Put her in Call of Duty. The rifle she was gifted while in Toronto is now on display at the Central Armed Forces Museum in Moscow. The first English translation of her memoir, Lady Death, was published by Green Hill Books in February 2018 as part of their Sniper Library series. I was born this way. Holy Lord. That was the insane story of Lyudmila, the Lady of Death, the most successful sniper in history. Holy Bakrankus. That's Ukrainian for bejesus. If you learned something today, and I hope for the love of everything above you have, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. And while you're down there, leave a friendly comment. I will be back next week with another video. Won't be this long. Until next time, don't be well behaved. You just might make herstory. See you next time, guys.